Anthony Hartwig here with a Poland softball player profile. It is, sadly the last one we're going to do with Mary Brant, who has been meant a lot to this Poland athletic room since she stepped on the floor, field, whatever you want to say, whatever sport you're watching her in, since a freshman. But here we are, senior year, Mary, and thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
What's it like being a senior and knowing that, obviously the career you've had, but now here you go, it's the last go around and you have to deal with all the emotions of it being the last year?
I mean, it's bittersweet, especially playing with all these girls from Poland for the last time because we've grown up together. We've played forever, but I feel like I've really done a good job of living in the moment, especially in high school, how fast everyone says it goes because it really does go fast. But I'm excited for the new chapter, but I'm really proud of everything we've done.
So when you say live in the moment, does that mean that like this year you haven't been in those moments where you get sad or you start to think about the last game until it's the last game? I mean, have you even thought about the fact that this is your senior year, or are you just trying to take every game like you would whether you were a junior, sophomore, or freshman?
I mean, obviously, like when the tournament starts, you kind of know things are coming to an end. So it's like you got to really make sure you're playing to the best of your ability, and the team makes sure to do that too. But I don't know. I kind of just senior nights are always sad, but besides that, I just kind of go out there and have fun every single game this year.
Statistically on this softball team, you've always been a leader statistically. You've been able to put up the offensive numbers, be a good defensive player. But here you are as a senior now. You're asked to be a little bit more of an emotional leader. You lost a senior class last year that was really good, and now it's a young roster. You only have two seniors right now on your team. What's it been like to have a little bit more responsibility as far as the emotional leadership and the energetic leadership and going past the statistics?
I mean, it definitely puts a little more pressure on me, and I know it does with Leanne too. Just the fact that there's two of us for softball, but I mean, in all three of my sports, there hasn't been a whole lot of seniors, so we had to step up and take on a bigger role, especially being captain. So, I mean, just making sure that all the younger girls are included. Team bonding is really important for us in all three of our programs. So we kind of just make sure everyone feels welcome.
And you play three different sports, and the teams differ. You have different teammates on every team. But Leanna's followed you. She's soccer, basketball, softball. What's it been like being on this journey with her all senior season?
I mean, it's super special, especially because we met when we were in preschool and we've been best friends ever since. So I feel like that's probably one of the things I'm most sad about is that I won't ever get to play with her again. But definitely being able to play with each other in all three sports has been something I hold really special in my heart. So I'm really glad that we got to go through it together.
This year, you've had to go through some adversity that you probably never expected that you'd have to go through. You missed the last chunk of the basketball season, had to miss the first couple of games of the softball season because of an injury. Talk about that was like trying to mentally get through that and knowing that you were going to come back and knowing that you were going to play softball for Poland again, but having to get through that time when you had to stop playing for a little bit, and then obviously not being able to finish the basketball season. What was that like for you? How did you kind of get yourself mentally through it?
I mean, it was really hard for me, especially ending basketball and having to tell my coaches and teammates because I know they were also devastated for me. But I mean, I really owe a lot of it to my trainer and obviously my teammates for making sure that I'm still okay. But especially because with this injury, it was kind of like trial and error. So I would start doing something, and if it hurt, I'd have to step back, and I can't really help anything with that. And I didn't even know if I'd be able to play softball this year because, again, like I said, it was kind of just test things out. And if it didn't work, I'd have to go backwards. But my trainer really got me in shape. He's also my physical therapist. So he is probably who I owe it most to because he would spend time on me every day, multiple hours a day. So I really appreciate him.
With that uncertainty, I imagine it was hard to really find that rhythm right when you stepped on the field because you missed the first chunk of the season. So what has it been like to try to get your rhythm back, try to get your timing back at the plate, and just try to get back to 100%?
I mean, it was super hard, especially at the beginning, because I obviously didn't get those first 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks when everyone was doing scrimmaging and seeing live pitching. So I kind of went into it blind, but I feel like I'm finally starting to get my groove back a little bit. I mean, hitting's always been up and down, but especially this year, more than anything, it's hard not to get down on yourself, but I try to make sure that I stay up because I have to like give myself some leeway because I sometimes forget that I didn't get all the extra reps that the other girls did.
I'll tell you what, no matter what your final numbers look like, whether they're up to your standards or not, you had one of the best games that we've ever seen on the YSN family this year against Boardman, and one of the best games that anyone's had in the state of Ohio. 10 RBIs, 2 home runs, 5 for 5. What was that game like for your psyche, for your momentum, for your confidence to play? What did that do for you to be able to have that kind of success in a game?
I mean, it was huge. I mean, I personally didn't even know I had that many until after the game when you interviewed me and told me, but it all happened because my teammates got on base. That's what those RBIs are. So I couldn't have done it without them. But for me personally, it was a big confidence booster because I needed that.
When you have a game like that where you're seeing everything, I mean, they had 3 different pitchers and you were seeing all of them. What's that like as a hitter to be able to know, like, I'm seeing everything right now and the ball looks like a beach ball?
I mean, it's super challenging, especially because all three of those pitchers were different speeds, but you kind of just have to adjust fast because that's how all pitching is. I mean, when a pitcher throws a changeup compared to a fastball or like a curveball or screwball, it's kind of just on the fly, but I still try to look for my pitch and make sure I'm not swinging at bad pitches.
The other big question after a game like that is how do you go and continue and try to, I don't want to say one up that, but like obviously how do you go into the next game and say that game's gone now and I can't lean on the fact that I just went 5 for 5. Like now I'm 0 for 0 and I have to contribute in this next game.
I mean, it's really hard, especially because I get anxious a lot at the plate and get ahead of the ball. And so sometimes that leads to me grounding out or popping up. But it's kind of like every game is a new start. So I can't live in the past too much. I know I was really excited about that and my team was excited for me, but kind of just flipping to the next page and making sure that I keep doing the same things and my mechanics stay the same.
You still have a lot of goals in front of you before tournament time because you have, the big matchup with South Range tomorrow. You have the Battle of 224 on Friday. But here we go into the final stretch of the season, your last go of it in the tournament. What are the kind of goals that you have in the last week or so, and then obviously into the bracket play?
I want to make sure that as a team, we're all having fun. I feel like a lot of the times we get caught up in things and get really down on ourselves for either fielding or hitting or some coaching stuff. So I want to make sure we have fun, but at the same time, we have to keep our bats rolling because right now they're pretty hot. And especially with these next few games coming up, it's going to be really tough because these pitchers are pretty good. But I mean, we kind of just want to go out with a bang.
When we talk about this team, we said it before, it's a fairly young team, just 2 seniors on it. How much have you seen the younger kids kind of grow in leadership and let you be confident that after you graduate, there's going to be really good leaders on this team? How much have you seen that this year?
Oh, it's every day I see that. I mean, our first two hitters are sophomores, but they were freshmen last year and they were still our first two hitters. I mean, they all step into the role and act like it's nothing, which is really impressive because I've been in their shoes and I get how stressful it is. So, I mean, they do a great job. And especially like, I feel like we hang out as seniors with all the underclassmen. So it makes it even better for them.
Next year, you are going to Robert Morris to continue your softball career. You made that decision well before your senior season started. What's the reality of that starting to sink in, like knowing that you're going to be a Division I softball player and knowing that you have that goal locked down as well?
It's kind of crazy to think about because I mean, I remember when I was little, like in elementary school, I loved softball and always dreamed of being a Division I player, but never actually knew if it could happen. Especially like sophomore year going to camps, it kind of was just a drag. But now that it's finally happened, it's kind of crazy. And I actually haven't sat and thought about it as much as I probably should and been grateful for it. But I mean, I'm super excited for it.
Everyone knows Robert Morris plays in the same conference as our hometown team, Youngstown State. Have you had anyone kind of give you a little bit of a for fun hard time about, hey, now you're going to be our rival, you're going to be going up against your hometown when you get into college?
I mean, not really so far, I don't think. I feel like everyone definitely knows that they play YSU, so they're kind of excited for when we travel to YSU to come
Mhm.
out and support. But it's kind of awesome because I know Ayla Ray, she's going there. She's on my travel team, but like to think that we'll be playing against each other is kind of crazy.
When you do travel to Youngstown State, you get to have that home game in a sense where everyone can come out to support you. What's that going to be like to see, obviously, the great support you already have, but to be able to have a college game where everyone gets to come and see you play? Even Robert Morris isn't that far away. Was that kind of a contributing factor in picking Robert Morris? The fact that it was close enough that your family and your friends and your supporters could easily get to games when you play?
For sure. I mean, I when people ask why I picked Robert Morris, I feel like my first answer is that it checked all my boxes because it's not very far away because I had like an hour and a half ish radius that I wanted to stay close to home because I still want to come home and watch all my teammates now still play and come support them. So that's really important to me.
When you ranked your boxes that you just talked about of most important to maybe least important of things that you were checking off, what was the most important box that a program like Robert Morris had to check off for you to even look their way?
I mean, I feel like the coaches, I felt like an instant connection with them, especially over the summer. I did a 3-day camp, so I really got to know them better. And I mean, they're just amazing. They're super nice and understanding about everything. And then, like I said, close to home.
It is far enough away that you'll move out of the house. You're going to leave the nest, live on your own. What are some things that you're going to miss the most about home life and having being at home?
Um, I mean, obviously, I'll miss my parents and like hanging out with them, like eating dinner, stuff like that, or going out to dinner. I mean, uh, besides that, I am probably really gonna miss my dog and my friends just because we're all kind of going separate ways. So I feel like those three things, and I'm really gonna struggle doing my own laundry, I think.
That goes right into my next question was going to be, what's the one life skill that you think is going to give you the most trouble when you don't have your parents to do it for you anymore? Is it laundry?
I'd say probably laundry.
What's one home cooked meal that you're going to miss the most when you're away from home?
Uh, I don't know. I always like when my mom makes homemade spaghetti sauce and we have
Mm.
spaghetti, but personally in the summer I really enjoy cooking out stuff like burgers, kebabs. So probably that.
When you think about how much softball you've played up to this point in travel in high school, what is it that keeps you engaged? Because there are a lot of players that get to your point, senior year of high school, maybe going into college, maybe they're already committed, but you start to feel that gas out because you've played so much and you haven't had that null. So what is it for you about this sport that keeps you going, that keeps you away from losing interest in it?
I feel like just being in it for my teammates most out of all because they're the ones that make me want to still come and still play and still try my hardest. So doing it for them and then like I said before, having fun because softball's a game of mistakes really out of all the sports I picked. I picked that one. Sometimes I wonder why, but I mean, just staying positive and always cheering up others. I feel like that goes a long way.
People that have watched you know that you're good in all the sports you play. You contribute to all those teams. Was it ever a question on what sport you wanted to play, or was it always softball? Was it always this is what I'm going to go and play at the next level?
I think I knew it was always softball, but I talked about it with like I visited some other like D3 schools. So if I would have went somewhere like D3, I would have probably tried to play
Hmm.
two sports. I didn't decide whether that would be soccer or basketball, but I honestly really enjoyed basketball this year, so
What are you going to miss the most about those other two sports that you, unlike softball, you have put away the cleats and the shoes forever? You're not going to play that competitively anymore.
probably the atmosphere and just like playing with the teammates that I have. I mean, I'll remember some of the memories I made at those other sports for the rest of my life. But I mean, especially basketball when it's a big game like Canfield or South Range, just hearing all the parents and like my classmates come and cheer us on, I feel like that's pretty special.
My last question for you is when you're graduating from Poland, you're walking down that aisle and you're handed your diploma, you get to reflect on just what makes you proud that you went to this school, that you were able to represent Poland for 4 years. What's going to come to mind to you?
Um, I would say how tight knit of a community this is. I mean, all the success that I've had wouldn't have come without my community. They stand by me, they support me in everything. And then obviously my teachers and administration for making me the student that I am today. And just my parents for always sticking with me too, because sometimes it gets hard. So, I mean, I really love their support.
Mary, you've done this a lot. You know, at the end of the profiles, we like to give the player the chance to take the limelight off themselves for a minute and shine on the people that are in their life, the people that support them. I want to give you the time to do that and give out as many thanks as you want this time around.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, my parents for sticking with me through it all, and my brother, obviously. Um, my all of my coaches in all three sports, and my teammates, past and present, because they've made me the athlete that I am today. And I mean, just my family for everything, like extended family. They always come and watch me. And then thank you to you guys too for always covering our games. I mean, we really appreciate it.
I'm gonna challenge the players that have done this a couple of times with one last thing because you thank everyone and you've thanked a lot of people a couple of times. Give one shout out to someone that you think that maybe you haven't shouted out before in the player profile that maybe deserves one. Just give one fresh shout out before we get you out of here.
A fresh one. Um, I'll shout out Eliana Thompson
Uh,
because I feel like she has stepped into a huge role this year, especially in basketball when I went down. And I just think she doesn't get enough credit as she should. So I feel like she really deserves being shouted out.
you got a shout out in the player profile for Mary Brant, Eliana. I hope you feel good about it. And when we get you on, we'll give you the chance to return the favor because we know that we'll get Eliana a player profile before too long. Mary, thank you so much for the time. We always appreciate it when you give it to us. It has been so awesome being able to talk to you over the years. Player profiles up the wazoo on our website. We thank you for your time and we appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck the rest of this year. You know we'll see you again real soon.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.